So far, you've had a pretty decent start to the season. Rockcrest winning first time out here at Woodbine, right?
Well, anytime he runs, he kind of gives me a little bit of anxiety, and so it's actually relieving whenever he's finished running, and to actually get that kind of success that we did is overwhelming feeling. Feels like the weight of the world has come off your shoulders. Well, I entered him 3 times in Florida. The first time I actually entered him at Gulfstream Park and chose, to scratch out of that race. Thought it might have been a bit too tough for him, and I chose to scratch him and run in the following week in Tampa. And little did I know that almost everybody would have scratched out of the race in Gulfstream Park and end up in Tampa. So, sometimes those things happen to you, and you end up thinking that the pasture looks greener on the other side when it really wasn't. But we had some unfortunate luck when we did try to run in March in Gulfstream, but we unfortunately got scratched by the vet.
Now, I know it's a tough game, horse racing, but for the winter, do you normally go south of the border?
So I normally go to Ocala. This winter I tried my hand at going to Payson. I've been going to Payson for quite some time when I worked for Roger Atfield, and I actually enjoy the facility. And I would have to say the horses actually, it might be a little bit pricey, but the horses do enjoy the facility there as well. It's next to none if you're going to winter anywhere.
You're surrounded by horse people, and your dad involved in racing for a very long time. You just told me you work for Atfield as well. I'm pretty sure you gathered some kind of knowledge in between there from some of those guys.
When growing up, I was fortunate enough that my mother's brother, both brothers, but mainly Anthony Nunes, who's the leading trainer in Jamaica, or has been champion trainer 3 times over the last 4 years. He's more my influence on horse racing. He's been my influence on horse racing from I was the age of 10. He gave me my first introduction to racing. My dad was here, but I grew up in Jamaica, so he was the person that kind of got me started, and a lot of the things I know, I actually know from him.
There's a lot of good horsemen coming out of Jamaica. What's the atmosphere like down there? Did you have fond memories of Jamaica and the horses?
There's no rivalry or no camaraderie like the islands. It does not necessarily mean just Jamaica, but anywhere you go, any racetrack you go, I'm sure that you'll find somebody from the Caribbean, whether they're yelling at the jocks or putting down their $2 wagers. But the exciting part about the racing in Jamaica is the rivalry, and that everybody has their own side, so to speak, just like in English Premier Leagues. Some people support Jason DeCosta, some people support Anthony Nunes, even with the jockeys. So it's been that right there. There's no better feeling than that kind of vibe that that everybody has their own team and it's like a rivalry.
Jamaica is a beautiful place, and lots and lots of horse people. What's the races actually like in Jamaica?
So I was there. As I said, I got to start when I was 10. I started going to the racetrack. I mean, I'd go to races before that, but actually going in the morning and seeing the operation, that started at the tender age of 10. But I would have to say that my first year of training was actually in Jamaica, and it felt pretty tough to win a race there more than it did here. Not say here by all means it's very hard to win a race, but I guess me my first year and coming from working for my uncle who actually has great success, it was an adjustment that you're on your own now, so you don't have those type of horses, so you had to kind of come up with your own method of how to win races, and so it felt like it took forever to win my first race there. But anywhere is hard winning races, and it doesn't matter if you're going from an A track to a B track. That's it doesn't matter. It's still as I said, everybody's out to beat the next person, so it's very difficult. But racing in Jamaica, I would say it's purse wise, it's equivalent to Fort Erie. So we actually have the most successful racing in the Caribbean is in Jamaica. We're even televised now on HBI and RTN TV, so they're ahead of the other islands. But no, I like that. I actually got a start in Trinidad as well. That I was an assistant for my uncle in Trinidad for 2 years, and then went to Jamaica and started training on my own. I think that, funny enough, I think every trainer actually comes to the racetrack wanting to be a jockey. But that quickly went through the door for most of us, including myself. And then you turn to training, and it's a different way of looking on the sport. So right now, I could say that yes, I'm living the dream, and that I always wanted to train horses on the big stage. I mean, Woodbine is a big stage, but I mean, I do have dreams and aspirations of maybe one day being, I don't know, in the Breeders' Cup or winning. Every trainer has a dream of winning the Kentucky Derby. But for now, I would say that, you know, I'll do the Canadian thing and say hopefully I'll win the King's Plate one day. You know, those are things that keep you coming. If you don't have a big dream, you won't last there. And it's always about dreaming and trying to succeed.
Question differently. So is there a lot of Canadian trainers that actually go across the border and able to be successful, especially in the Queen's Plate? Not basically in the Kentucky Derby, sorry.
So I mean, one in particular would have to be Roger Attfield. I mean, he's never won the Kentucky Derby. I don't think he's won any of the Triple Crown series, but he's run horses in there. He once had a horse named Talking Man. So the great thing about Roger Attfield is he was never afraid to go across the border. If he felt like his horses were good enough, the horses didn't know that they were Canadian bred. So he wanted, you know, if he thought that his horse was the best and that he could compete with the best, he never shied away from going across the border, and that's one thing I admire about him. You know, it doesn't work out all the time, but sometimes you get lucky, or sometimes you do have the best horse, and it shows in the results. But he's had some success. I mean, I believe Talking Man ran in the Derby. I don't think he ran any good, but he was one of the favorites. He had won the Wood Memorial. He also ran, I believe it was Ali Deed. They used to have a race called the Kentucky Derby Trial, which was the week before the Derby. And Ali Deed, I believe, won that, but he skipped the Derby and he went to the Preakness, and he ran second in the Preakness, and he was actually in front with the eighth to go. So I mean, he's never been afraid to venture across the board. I mean, horses like With Approval and his Bestial speak for themselves. So I mean, going across the border, you should never shy away. If you think that if you're good enough, then go and prove that you're good enough. And I mean, if you're gonna get licks, as you say in the Caribbean, go and take your licks and come back.
Right.
So.
If you're talking to some of the owners out there, and is that the direction that you want to take as well, to let them know that you're not afraid to go across there and you know, put their money and their horses with you, so that you can go across the border and do some good things? As
much as you're a dreamer, you also have to be a realistic person. I mean, I'm a big believer, and I love to run horses in condition races. I'm not a big dreamer that I'm going to skip condition. If you gave me the option of running in a condition race as opposed to going to a stake, I'll more than likely run in the condition race. So I mean, if for me to mention to the owners that, listen, hey, we should go across the border and run, 9 out of 10 times I believe that the horse should be good enough. And I mean, I've just been fortunate enough that I have one horse that I've actually been brave enough to take across the board. I mean, he never won, but he wasn't disgraced either. And that's Rockrest. I actually taken him across the border 2 times already to run. Once in Keeneland and once in Indiana, and he never disappointed. He ran his race, but he just met up on some better horses. I mean, he ran 4th in Indiana last year. He was beaten by a length, and he ran in Keeneland as a 2-year-old, and he got beat by a horse named Kimari, who was the award's big time female sprinter. She actually has been to Royal Ascot and has run the Breeders' Cup more than once. So I mean, those are horses that are legitimate horses, and he didn't disgrace. So I mean, but for me to venture across, the horse must be good enough. I'm not that big of a dreamer. I'm also a realist.
And do you still have Executive Giant?
No, at the end of last year, I put him into claiming, and he got claimed by a different trainer, a guy from Fort Erie. So
pretty sure that horse will go on and do.
I think he'll be just good at Fort Erie. I mean, he's a perfect claim for Fort Erie. I think he'll like the dirt, and he shouldn't be too bad. I mean, we're lucky enough that we got 2 wins out of him. He's a little bit of a handful to train and to deal with, but yeah, he's not no worse than many of them here.
Are you optimistic for this season?
I would have to be optimistic. I mean, in every year that you come here, if you don't set goals, or if you don't think that you are worth being here, then it doesn't make sense coming in. I have 3 babies right now. I still have one on the farm, and we're hoping that we could find a diamond in the rough. And the other 3 older horses, I'm hoping that they will continue to run good races.
How important is it to have the babies on board?
Babies are the future, and without babies, those are if you talk to any trainer here on the backside, every year in the months of March and April, everybody's got a good 2-year-old, and I'm pretty sure if you talk to them by the end of September, that will change. So I mean, everybody gets excited with their babies, and that they're doing the right things, and right now I'm at that stage where they are doing the right things. And I'm hoping that they will actually keep doing the right things, and that they won't go backwards, and they'll keep going forward. So right now they're doing the best that they can.
Nigel, it was a pleasure talking to you. Want to wish you the best this season.
Thank you very much.